Good morning, folks. This is your ticker update for the 20th. Since Nancy Pelosi has not sent over the articles of impeachment to the Senate, President Trump has not actually been impeached. That's a very interesting analysis from one of the experts that the Democrats had at their hearings, and it actually makes legal sense. I think that Trump could actually claim it hasn't happened, and he'd be on pretty solid ground doing it, because what the Democrats voted to do was to impeach him in the future. In other words, they voted to impeach, but they did not actually impeach. The act of impeachment occurs when you have the second vote taken to transmit the articles to the Senate, because until that has taken place, then there is nothing for the Senate to act on. So what's going on, Nancy? She thinks that she's going to get some leverage out of this, and no, she's not. And Steny Hoyer, yesterday later, came out and said there will be no more votes until after the new year. So basically, at this point, Trump has not been impeached. But the House has, by God, they have voted that they will in the future. They absolutely will in the future impeach President. Didn't the Democrats say they were going to impeach this MFR essentially on the day of the election? I think they did. Okay, they're still saying we're going to impeach him, 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 but they haven't actually done it yet. Congratulations, Nancy. You own this clown show. Welcome to the machine, I suppose. So, yeah, certainly nobody's worried about him being ejected from office. That's for sure. I want to talk a little bit about the other article that I put up this morning, which is related to a New York Times story. It shocks me that the New York Times actually took this long to figure this out, and that now, oh my God, the breathless New York Times reports that we can identify actual individual people, and we can find them, and it's actually not even very hard. And by God, we could see all these people going to the Pentagon, and I've been writing the market ticker since 2007. On several occasions, I have brought up the fact that these wonderful little spying devices in your pocket can be trivially tracked to a person. That person can be identified, and then once that has been done, you can be followed literally anywhere, nearly in real time. In some cases in real time, but even in cases where it's not, it's essentially, if you have a desire and you're willing to pay the companies that have the data, in real time. This is supposedly only for advertising purposes, of course. This is what they say. But there's absolutely nothing preventing a firm, or the government for that matter, from using it for whatever the hell they want. The real problem isn't so much that this sea of 200 some odd million people, pretty much everybody except the very old and infirm and the very young who are too young to be able to read yet, having these devices in their pockets and tracking everywhere that they go. The problem is that this data is both prospective and retrospective. And as I have pointed out to my daughter when she was very young, before she first got on the internet and started using such things, but when in elementary school, some of the rich and howdy types started showing up with smartphones at her school, iPhones in particular, and she, of course, was screaming for one. I pointed out to her that long before she actually got one, that anything that she ever does on the internet never, ever goes away. Ever. It never disappears. It is never out of anyone's hands. It is never only in the hands that you want it to be in. And you have zero control over who has it or what they do with it. In this country, we no longer jail people for abusing personal data, ever. When was the last time that you saw anyone go to jail for data breaches, whether it be stolen credit card information, stolen credit reports, stolen Ring doorbell credentials, or for that matter, whether it's actually stolen? Most of the time, these so-called hacks are not actually stolen at all. They're not even really hacks. They're firms that are repurposing And of course, that doesn't get reported because that's not considered stolen. So, and by the way, you could delete all the apps off your phone, doesn't do you a damn bit of good because the carriers are doing it, and they've been caught on multiple occasions selling that data off to anybody that wants it, including process servers and bounty hunters, both of which are private entities. Anyone who thinks that this is not going on a massive basis, and after they got caught, by the way, some of them said, "Oh, we won't do that anymore." Yeah, right. Okay. What is the penalty for lying? There isn't one. For the most part, these things are either not against the law, or if they are, no one ever goes to prison for it, so it doesn't matter. And if you think that this is a no big deal kind of thing, you have rocks in your head. The sort of benign side of this is one of the ways that your cost of living gets ratcheted up and you get screwed. The micro-targeting that goes on at an individual level for price discrimination is outrageous. It takes the concept of competition, which is the entire premise of capitalism, folks, and turns it on its ear. Because you cannot shop. You yourself cannot shop because you are discriminated against personally. Now, that's not illegal in the United States because it's not based on you being white or black or orange or green or gay or straight or no. It's based upon you personally. And that isn't illegal. Not even under today's screwed up social justice warrior scream fest rules is it illegal. It's just not. Well, the American public has refused to wake up. It has refused to put its foot down and say, this is not going to go on anymore. We're going to throw people in prison. And if they won't go because our government won't make them go, then we're going to take care of things on our own hands. I know that's a terrible thing to say, right? But is it really so terrible? Facesucker claims that each of their U.S. customers is worth about $100 a year, a little bit more than that. Basic marketing fact, folks. If you are worth $100 if it costs $100 to target you with ads, essentially, you are worth to that someone at least $1,000 in sales, because all firms have overhead, and nobody has 100% profit, and everyone has to make money at the end of the day. Otherwise, spending that $100 is stupid. So the only way that money keeps getting spent, and everybody will speculate a little bit, all right? So, the first $20 that you spend targeting some ad, you'll do that. But the company won't stay in business if they don't consistently deliver more value than they cost. And where does that value come out of? Your ass. If you think this data isn't being kept, maintained, analyzed, aggregated, and sold at an individual level, if all these tracking IDs are not individually mapped back to persons, names, addresses, you're nuts. It is only a matter of time. In fact, it's only because we don't have any kind of organized desire to do anything evil, like, for example, for a jihadi group to figure out where all the police are. Which homes have a cop in them? That's not very hard. These data sets make that trivially easy to identify every single law enforcement officer, every single member of the military. And then what do you think they do with that? If they really hated those people by their identity. Oh, you didn't think about that one, did you? Well, Big Brother ain't the only one that can get their hands on this stuff. It doesn't cost that much money, folks. It's actually very small ball in terms of what it takes. If the New York Times, as a newspaper with a couple of feckless reporters, can manage to come up with a big enough data set to figure out who's going into the Pentagon and nail individual people and find an individual Google engineer that leaves his job and goes and works for Amazon, and they know that he went and did it, and that he went to work for Amazon at essentially the same time that it occurred, in real time. What makes you think if they wanted to find you, if, say, one of these nefarious people wanted to find you, put a bullet in the back of your head, they couldn't do it? Are you crazy? You know, the people in this country are just flat out nuts. I have been talking about these risks, and exactly this sort of thing now for more than 10 years on the ticker, and I've been raising hell about it for even longer than that. I worked for a company a number of years ago that was going to start doing this sort of thing in grocery stores, and pointed out that at the time we would have been pretty much the only ones doing it, and that it would be trivial for somebody to track it back to us. And if they did, that the probability that that would have a very negative impact on the business was very real. Well, that kind of scuttled the idea. But now that everyone's doing it, no one cares. And see, that's the problem. When you're the only one, you're the only source, well, now, you know, hey, there could be business-destroying consequences if you get fingered. But what happens when every single firm out there is doing it? When the weather app on your phone is part of it? Because, you know, you'd like to have the weather forecast, right? Well, guess what? It gets your location, da-da-da-da. There you go. You got the Burger King app because, by God, you want your free hamburger when it comes out. Oops. You got the Starbucks app because you want to have the convenience of waving your phone at the thing with your reward points or whatever have you. But guess what? Now that's got a location. And can you sanitize some of this? Well, some, if you pay very good attention, but not enough. Does Google give a wet crap about any of this, or does Apple? No, absolutely not. In fact, Google sells this. Why do you think that there is a permission? And I pointed this out in an article months and months and months and months ago. There's actually a permission in the Android manifest for every application that says uses internet. How come you've never seen that on a permission screen? Why can't you turn it off? Why can't you set it so that it only works when you're using the app? You know why? Because then you can't deliver ads. You shut off internet. What if it's an app that doesn't actually need the internet? What if it's a game? Yeah, I know. You guys don't care because, you know, walking around this little spying device in your pocket so you can have the cute little Snapchat kitty picture filter on your face. That's the most important thing in the world. But you will not insist that our government put a stop to this and force all this data to be destroyed. Not stopped on a forward basis with so-called consent, because you don't really consent. The way that this stuff's all worded, we can share your data with our business partners. What was that? Anybody pays them. Wake up, folks. I know, you're not gonna. Not until the lead starts to fly. Now, if you think when things go sideways that this data is not already in the people's hands who are going to use it, you're wrong. It is, and it will be. Better think about that today, because that's the real news of the day, not the fake impeachment that isn't really an impeachment. Not yet, anyway. And oh, by the way, with what Steny Hoyer said, it ain't going to be until the new year, or maybe not even then. So, you know, the Democrats took a vote, but they didn't actually act. Isn't that just like what government does? We're going to fix drug prices. We're going to fix this problem. We got this horrible president. We're going to throw his butt out of office. Wait, no, we didn't actually impeach him. Just like with this stuff. We're going to solve this problem with data theft and kids being abused. And oh, by God, Epstein didn't kill himself. Have a good one, folks. It's the end of the week. And, hey, you know, everyone cheers because the stock market's up. Yeah, okay. Guess why it's up? Because you're getting bent over the table again. I mean, ticker K. Have a good day.